2016, the congressional spending compromise saved a lot of funding for Hawaii. Representative Tulsi Gabbard joins us here live so we can get some more details on that. First of all, it looked like virtually all of the funding for military construction in Hawaii was saved.
Yes, there's kind of the micro view, which is the dollar amounts and the projects that we were looking at. But the bigger thing that we averted by passing this end-of-year funding bill was either another government shutdown, which we saw here in Hawaii how damaging that was in 2013, or a so-called continuing resolution, which is basically a funding level that would have gone through at sequester levels, which as you and many others have talked about, would have been so devastating in massive troop reductions and massive funding reductions, not only for defense, but for many other different federal agencies as well.
Senator Hirono was pointing out that something that didn't fall through the cracks, as all this stuff was being done at the last minute, was some additional funding for veterans' health.
Yes, veterans did well under this budget, but I think it's important for us, even as we look at dollar amounts, that we've got to continue to stay very focused on the systemic problems that exist within that bureaucracy that have caused all these problems to persist, these long wait times, these so-called secret waiting lists, budgets for new VA hospitals that have gone skyrocketing over what they've actually were allotted. So there's a lot of issues that still exist within veterans that funding and more money being thrown at the problem is just not going to solve.
Speaking of systemic problems, for years Congress has been almost unable to agree on anything because of the sharp political divides, and then on this bill they kind of did.
Yeah.
Do you think that can hold into the new session, or was it sort of a one-off, people being nice to Paul Ryan, the new speaker?
No, you know, I'm cautiously hopeful because this wasn't a one-off thing. In the last few months since Paul Ryan took over as speaker, we didn't just pass a funding bill, we also passed an education bill, which that has been a very tough hill to climb, where, you know, I talked with a lot of teachers here, the HSTA here, and others across the country. They were very happy with it, primarily because it alleviated the really tough, egregious testing requirements, where teachers were essentially being forced to teach to the test rather than to actually focus on the whole education of the child, and provided more flexibility for states like Hawaii to really see how do you measure success best here when you look at the students that we have, which are very different than students in Texas, very different than students in New Hampshire or other states in the country. So providing grants to support our schools and our students in many different areas, as well as providing flexibility. And the other big compromise bill that we passed had to do with infrastructure. You know, 27% of Hawaii's major roads are failing, and this was a bill that provides over $1 billion specifically toward investing and fixing and repairing Hawaii's major infrastructure needs. So
what's the next goal going forward? What can red and blue lawmakers possibly agree on in the next few months?
Well, this is something the president talked about a few days ago, I think in one of his last media addresses before he came here to Hawaii, was criminal justice reform. This is something that leading Republicans in the Senate as well as in the House, I think Paul Ryan may have spoken about it, talking about this is an area where the far left in politics and the far right in politics have agreed that reform is necessary, it's long overdue, both because of the fiscal impact on our country, but also because of the social impact. And there are a lot of areas of agreement on this. I've co-sponsored legislation to be able to move some of those reforms forward, and I think that may be a sweet spot where we can bring people together and make some change. Okay, so something new for us to watch in the session, which is going to be here before you know it. I hope you and your colleagues on the Hawaii convention delegation can enjoy a little bit of time over the holidays. Home till the new year, and I'm very, very grateful. Okay, and we'll have more.